You're in the thick of things with these Nafta negotiations. First things first, come March, is there going to be a deal?
Well, I remain optimistic in the sense that, well, it's been slow. There are this is a 24-year-old deal. A lot of things need to be modernized. We've been working away trying to be constructive, but it's a big trading relationship. It's going to take us a while to get there. I hope we get there by the end of March. Certainly, I think NAFTA has been good for all three countries, and we're going to do our best to find a way to make it a win-win-win for all three countries.
Well, President Trump says it hasn't been good for the United States, and there's a large contingency of union workers here in the U.S. who would agree with him. And I guess the question that I have for you is, the Prime Minister Trudeau consistently says he wants a progressive trade agreement. What exactly is a progressive trade agreement?
Well, we've put some pretty constructive alternatives on the table. Some labor standards, modernized labor standards, environmental, indigenous and gender proposals that we think reflect some of the values that we have as Canadians, and we think it'll improve the deal.
And then, in particular, in addition to environmental standards, a point of contention has been the auto industry. I was reading over some of my notes before, and the United States wants 50% of cars traded under NAFTA to be built here in the United States, 85% to be built in 3 countries overall. Canada has essentially said that's stupid. Why?
Well, it's not just Canada that says it's not viable. I mean, I think the auto sector itself says the proposals that the Americans have advanced will make North American industry less competitive. And, really what this is about is trying to make sure that we remain globally competitive. And we don't think that those proposals work. What we're trying to do is to find a way where jobs can be created, more jobs can be created in the United States and in Canada. One of the things that I don't think many Americans understand is that you have a $36 billion surplus with Canada in manufactured goods. If what the U.S. is interested in is trade balances, I'd really like to see some proposals come as to how to right the trade balance between Canada and the United States, which is in your favor.
Okay, well then why not throw Mexico under the bus? I mean, why have a trilateral agreement when you can have a bilateral with the U.S. and Canada?
I think it's really the trilateral nature of the agreement has made all three countries more competitive on a global basis. We still think that NAFTA as a three-way agreement is one that can really work. I mean, I think Vice President Pence said it best in June when he was in Rhode Island. He said we're going to try and work towards a win-win-win. That's what we're trying to do.
So that's what I find interesting is because you hear what Vice President Mike Pence is saying, and then I covered the earlier rounds of the NAFTA negotiations, and everyone saying that. Mr. Lighthizer has also suggested as much. But then I read the president's Twitter account. Do you have any indication, Mr. Ambassador, that President Trump one day might just tweet out, "We're done. We're withdrawing from NAFTA. It's over"?
I've been in meetings with the president and the prime minister. They have a good relationship. I think the president understands that we're trying to work towards an agreement that will be of benefit to the United States and Canada. And as I said, I'm optimistic that we're going to find a way to make this successful.
Canadian officials have said privately that there's not going to be a deal built around the current U.S. proposals. So essentially you're saying to the United States government, go back to the drawing board. Is there anything that the U.S. could put forward, that they put forward, that you're willing to compromise on?
Well, first of all, there are a number of the chapters where there has been alignment with all three countries. So we've moved along. I think we've closed a couple of chapters. We're getting close on a number of others. These ones are very important in terms of modernizing NAFTA. There are obviously, some areas where there are differences of opinion. What we'd like to try to do is to find a way to say, all right, what are you trying to achieve? Because we don't actually think those proposals will achieve it. And then there are other things like on government procurement where, the United States has 9% of the Canadian government procurement market. We have 0.15% of the U.S. market.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to know when the United States puts on more restrictive measures than that, how are we supposed to respond to that?
Hard to know, tough to respond. When I look at the names, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, Gary Cohn, Bob Lighthizer, Peter Navarro, President Trump, Vice President Pence, seemingly giving different indicators about where they're at on NAFTA. Who do you think is actually, who are you guys actually negotiating with?
Well, I think USTR is in charge of the negotiations, and we are negotiating with USTR.
Okay.
When we continue to work with members of Congress, members of the U.S. business community, labor, what we're trying to do is to illustrate to everyone that, we want this to work. And, there's no one in the world who wants to see America succeed more than Canada.
Canadian Ambassador David MacNaughton, thank you so much for coming on to Bloomberg Television as these talks are very much ongoing.
Very much so.